Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. Robert Louis Stevenson was a 19th century Scottish writer. He was born on November 13th in 1850 in Edinburgh, Scotland. At the age of 17, Stevenson enrolled in Edinburgh University to study lighthouse engineering just as his father had done. However, engineering did not appeal to Stevenson, and he decided to study law instead. He graduated from law school in 1875, although he never did anything in law. Instead, he chose to become a writer because he felt that it was his true calling. In 1880, Stevenson married Fanny Osborne. Stevenson published The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde soon after in 1886. The novel would go on to be internationally acclaimed and inspire countless theatrical productions and movies. Stevenson was fascinated by how personalities affect a person. He used that fascination and incorporated it into many of his stories. While Stevenson wrote many pieces discussing the effects of personality, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was his most known piece. The novel explores the idea that man has conflicting traits within himself that are intertwined with his being. People have a dual nature that they keep hidden from respectable society. The novel explores this theme of duality as the narrator, a London lawyer named Gabriel John Utterson, investigates the strange relationship between Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll represents the upright, respectable man, while Mr. Hyde is the fiendish and animalistic man. Duality is a central theme in the novel and therefore should be further explained. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, proposed his theory to explain the mind. Psychoanalysis focuses on the unconscious aspects of one's personality. According to Freud, the human mind is like an iceberg which is mostly hidden. He believed that the hidden part of the iceberg contained the unconscious aspects of the mind, while the visible part of the iceberg contained the conscious aspects of the human mind. He tied in these two aspects into a person's personality. The unconscious contains aspects of personality which a person is unaware of, while the conscious contains aspects the person is aware of. He discussed a preconscious, which contains things a person is unaware of unless prompted. In 1923, Freud described the personality using three categories: the id, ego, and the superego. The id is the most primitive part of a person's personality. It operates solely for pleasure and immediate gratification. The ego operates according to the reality principle and deals with the demands of the environment. It acts as a control center of the personality because it keeps the id in check. The superego represents the values and standards of an individual's personality. The superego strives for perfection and acts as a judge to reprimand or reward the ego. Therefore, using Freud's personality model, the id represents Mr. Hyde, while the superego represents Dr. Jekyll. Mr. Hyde is the pleasure-seeking person, while Dr. Jekyll is the respectable, law-abiding person. Throughout the novel, Dr. Jekyll fights to physically separate the id from the superego. Unless separated, the ego and superego would suppress the id using societal and moral standards. Consequently, the id must be torn from the superego to do as it pleases without the feeling of remorse or shame. The novel discusses the theme of duality and whether a man can truly rid himself of it. The story becomes a struggle between the good and evil within oneself. The question becomes, can man truly separate the immoral side from the moral side of himself? And is man doomed to fail if he succeeds? The novel hits on major themes of morality, societal pressures and norms, and man's personality.